Hi, good evening, all my warrior moms, and here wishing you all a very nice December evening with me. Today, I will be talking about shield and how we moms can shield our kids as well as ourselves against the various side effects, we might call it, of the pandemic and of having to stay inside the home along with our kids for a good 9 months plus. So this is basically based on the SWOT analysis, where we analyze the strengths, the weakness, the opportunities our children can have as well as for ourselves, and the threats we are facing. So I will be talking about, first of all, the strengths which we assume our child has. And when we talk that our child is strong, we first of all, even from the point when the child is born, we assume that a bigger the child means he is stronger. It is not always so, because sometimes the smaller child might be more spunkier, while a bigger child might be facing the problems of having a mother who is pre-diabetic or diabetic, and because of that the child will need to be screened. Besides the child, how he is at birth, always a mom, when I ask how a child is and how you feel the child is strong or not, she assumes the strength to be equated to the weight of the child, which is not so. And it's not always so that a heavier child is a healthier child, because what is happening, our country as well as the entire world is facing the pandemic of obesity. So what we pediatricians are now monitoring is the body mass index, which is actually the ratio of the height of the weight in kilogram to the height squared in meters. And that is, we have the graphs, and depending on where your child is standing on the graph, where he stands, we can tell you whether the child is overweight or obese. And similarly for yourself as a mother, if you feel your BMI is more than 25, you are in the overweight category, and if it's going towards above 30, then you are definitely obese and need to take care of yourself. Besides this definition of what we consider as a child being strong, a child can actually, we can make a child strong if we give a child stronger bones. And for stronger bones, it's actually the bone density. Besides calcium, how else can we make the bones of a child as well as for ourselves strong? One is exercising. For us, it is weights as well as strength training. We can go ahead and do that. Walking is a good exercise. We can do that even at home when we are isolated. Besides that, omega-3 fatty acids, which come from nuts, from seeds, from seafood, they are good in helping improve the bone density, as well as vitamin K and proteins. So we can see to it that we increase the content of these items in our food. Another way which I categorize a child to be stronger is depending on his blood parameter of hemoglobin, because anemia per se is something which is affecting more than 70% of children in our Indian society, and that way nearly 70% of our children are weak. So if we can go with very basic ways of improving the diet, maybe the traditional gur chana, if we include that in the diet every morning, that is not processed, that is the most natural way we can give the protein along with the iron. Besides, other ways we can increase the iron content of the diet is maybe including more veggies, more green leafy vegetables, having cooking food in iron utensils, that can increase the iron content. Besides, apples and eggs is one way we can actually increase the strength of the bodily strength of a child. Besides the bodily strength, what we need to strengthen a child is in the bonds. I'm not talking of the capital bonds or the mutual bonds. I'm talking of the bonds the child has with his family, with his close family members, with the extended family members, with his neighbors, as well as friends, which is very important that he maintains them even when we are isolated from the rest of each other and the world, because these bonds will help a child's emotional growth and his emotional strength, and keep him physically and emotionally more in a healthier state of mind. The strength also comes from the service a child and we are rendering to the society, our social skills, because this is one of the domain of the development of a child as well as for ourselves. So be it whether we are planting trees, we are seeing to it that the locality around us remains clean, or we are taking care of stray dogs. These are some ways we can set an example to a child and help our child also to develop his social strengths. When we are planting a tree, one is the roots. The second thing is, which we want, is how high, and we want to determine is how tall a tree will become. Spirituality is something which helps determine how tall or what will be the stature of a child later on, how tall he can walk, metaphorically. So that for that we do not have to restrict a child to his or her religion where he is born in. Let us try to inculcate the habit of a child reading the books of all religion, be it the Bible, be it the Quran, be it our own Gita, Mahabharata and Ramayana and the Upanishads. These are some things which are going to provide the spiritual strength to a child, because these are time tested over centuries. So this is the wisdom which we will be imparting a child, more than just the intelligence part. Reverse programming is another way we can actually strengthen our child. Normally what happens is, when we have a pleasant experience, we end up smiling, and we use our facial muscles, and the smile comes there. Reverse programming is when we actually smile and we make our brain and our mind to believe that we are in a pleasant environment and our day is going in a pleasant fashion. So if we do that, it's something like, I was feeling that I haven't gone out on a vacation for so long, so I decided to dress up as if I am sitting in Switzerland, take a hot cup of tomato soup and open the window, get the entire nice cold wind on my face, and that made me smile. So if I'm smiling, or if I wake my child up with a smile every day in the morning, my child will feel it is a good day, it's a sunny day to wake up in, because a mother's facial expressions go a long way to determine how a child will determine his or her day will go. It is not about future prediction or astrology, it is just how a mother and a child bonding works. The second thing I was talking in how we can provide a better shield for our children is the habits we inculcate in them and the hobbies we help develop in them. The habits is something what my parents used to talk about was, you remove the H, a bit remains, you remove A, bit remains, you remove the B, it still remains. So habits are something which a mother has a prerogative of inculcating in her child over the first 18 years of a child's life, and these will stand the child in good state for the entire lifetime. So be it something about how a child sleeps, about how a child washes his face every night or in the morning, or brushes his teeth, and how he sets his room, and how he greets his parents and other elders. These are the habits we inculcate in a child. And of course the sleep pattern will go for a toss once a child comes into adolescence, but other habits, like we can inculcate the child has to keep everything in its place, and there has to be a place for everything. We can do inspection rounds every Friday nights, where we will maybe reward a child for a clean bedroom, a clean study table, a clean clothes closet. Of course we will let the child relax on the weekend, just like we are doing. So these are the habits which will slowly be a part of the child's system and the child's programming. Cooking is something the child should get into the habit of, because most of us were pampered, but now we realize that cooking is the one thing which is a healthier habit and a healthier option, as well as getting into the habit of counting the calories, which we are not doing, because we are going overboard with the calories which are happening. What the Indian Academy of Pediatrics, the nutrition chapter, has also last year introduced is the term which is based on the intake of junk food, that is called junks. Okay, sorry. So now what happens with junks is junk, J is for junk, U is for the ultra processed food, anything which comes in a packet or which is processed, that is also in the category of junk food. N is for the nutritionally inappropriate foods. We can tell a child anything he can pick up straight from a tree or a plant is definitely any day a healthier option. The C in the junks is for caffeinated and carbonated beverages, which are not recommended at all, and in very minimal amount, like 100 ml for 5 to 9 year olds and 200 ml for 9 to 18-year-old. In fact, in this present pandemic era, we have gone overboard with the intake of tea. So we need to know that less than 5-year-old kids, they they are not recommended any tea intake, and 5 to 9 year only 100 ml, and above that 9 to 18 is 200 ml, as well as sugar drinks. In fact, even fruit juices, according to the latest recommendation, it is best to give a child fruits and not fruit juice, and less than 2 years no fruit juice. From 2 years onwards, 5, it is about half a cup of 125 ml, and beyond that 1 cup of fruit juice. So these are the things which have been recommended so that we can have a healthier lifestyle for our child, because obesity is the latest pandemic, and the number of obese children in our country has more than doubled in the last few years. So what we need to know that in fact, with the Western diet pattern also, some studies found a higher concentration of interleukin 6, and this can cause an increased intake of junk food, can cause insulin resistance, it can cause development of allergies, development of dental caries, as well as a higher risk of hypertension. And in fact, the energy drinks which lots of young adults and teenagers, they are fond of taking, that can cause arrhythmias or disruption of the heartbeat. It make it irregular, and it can even result in low blood pressure, hypotension, and even sudden deaths. So we need to monitor what our children are taking, as well as for ourselves, because these are the hidden ways our body is becoming obese. We do not realize that the amount of sugars we are getting through such drinks, or the risk of cancer because of the preservatives which are added. In fact, in 2010, Michelle Obama, she had started this campaign of let's move salad bars to school. So what we need to encourage for school children is more opening of more salad outlets, and in fact encouraging the children to have at least one fruit or one bowl of salad every day. And besides that, let's move the salad bars. We need to have a movement of let's move for us moms as well as for our children, so that we start spending more time moving around, getting our body into motion, rather than sitting in front of computer screens or the mobile screens or the television screens. So this was about how we need to control the obesity, how we need to count the calories. We go out and eat, or which we used to go out, but most of the hotel foods, they do not mention the calorie content of the food which they are serving. So it is very important that we as citizens, we ask that the calorie content of every food, not just in the packages, what we are having while dining out is mentioned in the menu card. And we encourage our children to learn the calories of various items, which I can take in another class, and I normally teach my medical students. Another habit which I feel is will stand any child in good stead is the habit of minding P's and Q's. What you call the child normally doesn't feel that at home or in the family he has to say please or thank you, and this is only meant for the formal environment in an office or in a school with the school principal. So if a child gets into the habit of every day saying please and of saying thank you even to the parents or to the grandparents, this will become a part of a system, and the child will be more socially respected and accepted. Our children, we know we share our love and show our love to our children by hugging them when they're small, but as soon as a child reaches adolescence, they are resistant to any PDA or public display of affection. All the same, a child needs touch. All the same, the child needs to be hugged. So even if we cannot hug a child openly, if a child might not like it, we can at least give a head massage to the child, hold a child's hand, go for a walk with the child, and encourage the child to keep some animal. The child even hugging an animal, be it a dog or a cat or a horse or a cow, will help a child feel what the warmth of another life. And it is something like, I remember, it is a good way of de-stressing. Even I, as a child, I remember when I used to have those outbursts with my mom, and would feel that no, I need to walk out, or I need to run away from home. I would sit, and my confidant would be my pet dog Chumru, and I would share all my plans of how I plan to go, and my dog would be there wagging his tail and understanding me. So that helped me de-stress a lot, and I feel it's very important for all children. For the hobbies you can inculcate in your child, I feel, why go for very glamorous hobbies only, like coding or something to do with computers? Why not go for simple hobbies like carpentry or woodwork, we might say? Why not help a child build a bird house, or build a small chair for him or herself? Why not encourage the child to learn plumbing by making the irrigation, handling the irrigation of the garden he's doing besides a hose, water hose? Why not help a child to learn painting his walls, his door, his almirah or window? Why not encourage a child to do farming? Rather than saying gardening, let a child have his own vegetable farm, be it however small it might be. And how to cook, how to stitch. It's something we feel it is not required that we should know how to thread a needle, or maybe how to even use knitting needles. Let's take out our knitting needles, because besides the patience and the perseverance it is required, what we can help a child is in his fine movements. So knitting needles is a good exercise which even we can do, and sit out in the sun like our grandmothers used to do. The third part of my strength building for children and moms is the eye. The eye is not just about the intellect development of a child or the intelligence, because intelligence we normally equate with the marks a child gets in exams. So that is not intellect. Intellect is the way we can judge a child's intellect by the way we can engage him in a conversation, not about academics, but about anything, about his dreams, about what he feels is happening in the society, about his friends, about the dogs and the trees and the birds and the bees, or anything we feel like. If we can talk and have a meaningful conversation with a child, that helps in a child's intellect development. There are various games we can play to build up a child's intellect besides crossword. It's something like we saw in that movie Khoobsurat, in the Hindi movie, where you learn to do rhyming, play the rhyming game with the child. Something like, today if my kitchen experiment was a disaster, so I can say, आज तो रोटी मिलेगी जली और दाल नहीं है गली, and my son would say, and खाने को मिलेगी केवल फली. So these are the ways you can actually interact with your child and ask him to come up with a rhyming word. And if a child you feel is not interested in the surroundings, is not interested in interacting with the family members or the friends, we need to watch out for a condition called autism, because that, if it is developing, needs to be handled properly, and you need a pediatrician and a psychiatrist maybe to handle it. The E part of the shield is to do with the emotions. Emotional development is very important for a child's all-round development as well as for his sustainability, because with the increase in the number of suicides in young adults which is happening, we need to see that more than anything the child is emotionally strong. A child can only be emotionally strong if he can empathize with other people around him. He can safely release his anger in a non-abusive fashion, because can he talk out his emotions? Can he put down on paper his feelings? And how well can he ventilate? Now we talk about ventilation, and we've been talking about ventilation in the pandemic context, because it is very important that every day, even during winters, we open the vents, we open the windows, we switch on the exhaust and change the air. Similarly, for a child, it is very important every day to vent out his feelings, whatever he feels. If he cannot verbalize it without using abusive words, we can ask him to write it out. Whatever he can, maybe even prepare a video these days and send it to you, his mom, and say that he feels bad about this, and you can in turn reciprocate, because the child is under a lot of pressure, be it peer group pressure to get a new mobile, or the type of dresses or the dress codes they want to do, besides emotions which we need to handle, and we might need professional help for that. The child also needs to be taught something about economics, and you can do that by letting the child handle the economics of your kitchen budget. Let him learn the budget, what is required for getting the bread every day on the table for which his dad works, or what his mom needs to be doing to see to it that every day there is a dinner. So let him make the budget, let him go do the shopping and the stuff for the kitchen for at least a month during the pandemic. Of course, the shopping can be done online. You do not have to expose the child to the risk of going out, but let the child figure out how, if he can do mathematics, let him do figure out the mathematics of running the house or running one aspect of the household, that is the kitchen. So go ahead, do that. Talking about the emotions, if you feel your child is a bit depressed, it's not a bit, if he's continuously depressed for days on end, or he's feeling lonely, or not interacting with the family or the friends, or then you need to maybe get professional help, which is more so in nuclear families. Unlike joint families where there are lots of members and child can associate with someone, a child may find it very strange to associate with parents who are busy working from home. So we need to also share our experiences with the child, how work is troubling us, or what we feel good about. So our experience sharing and not just expense sharing is what will help in a child's emotional development, because we all are evolving. So if he can empathize with grandparents, we can ask him to maybe just help grandparents with their online shopping, help read out the newspaper or some book to grandparents, and discuss events. The L part of my shield is to do with the language development, which is a very important domain in a child's overall development. And when we talk of language, it is not just the different languages a child has learnt over time. What comes foremost is the mother tongue, because that is a part of a child's roots. If a child has strong roots, he can withstand any storm. So let us not underplay the importance of a mother tongue and talk to a child in a foreign language. Let us learn all the old poems, the loris, the kahanis in our language, whatever it be, and talk to a child. And it's something like also as a child grows up, he will try to move away from us emotionally, physically distance, and what we will get from him or her will be monosyllabic speech. It's something like you ask your child, do you want to have breakfast? The answer will be no. Do you want to have your favorite banana shake? It will be a yes. So what you as a mom can do is sort of put down the ground rules that the mom is deaf to monosyllabic speech. So the child has to use the P's and Q's, and the child has to have a complete sentence with a noun and a verb, everything, before the mom will respond. So that is somewhere the mom has to be diplomatic and ensure that the child is not indulging in monosyllabic speech, because courtesy social media, be it WhatsApp and SMS, a simple word like take care has become TC. It's something like OK has become K. So let's encourage a child to talk to us in complete sentences, and many times a child will not talk to us, but what we have to understand is a child's body language. So we moms should be paying an attention not just with our ears to what a child is saying, but also with our eyes to what we feel is happening to our child and what he's trying to communicate to us. We also need to be able to laugh at ourselves. We might commit mistakes and make a blunder of so many things. We might flunk in something we were not wanting to do, some professional exams, some membership exams, and if we can laugh at ourselves and our failures, that is the biggest lesson we can teach our child, that it is okay to fail, and still it's okay to look at yourself and say that, oh wow, there can be a better way we could have done it. So more important is to teach your child not to use abusive language, because besides there being a pathological condition called coprolalia, where a child is pathologically using cuss words, we can tell them that there are more F words like family and future and friends, and the legal implications of using abusive language he should be made aware of. Because if the child, a teenager, uses that with someone, say like a traffic policeman, he can land up in bigger trouble, which we don't want. Let us teach a child how to write letters, how to post letters, how to write birthday cards. Now they are old fashioned, outdated, but this pandemic we can teach a child to write birthday cards, make drawings, and reconnect in a different fashion, because writing itself is a skill which helps to rewire our brain, besides writing our diaries every day, which is a definitely good experience. Let us also teach a child the various what you say, quotations or kahavat or muhavre in Hindi, which we say, because they will stand your child in good state later on, because these are time tested, century old hand-me-downs of quotations. I still remember when I was in medical college and I was feeling very frustrated that I'm not able to recall the chapter even despite reading it the 5th time. And that is when I recall what my mom used to say, karat karat abhyas se jarmati hot sujan, rasri avat jaat se sil par padat nishan. So that means only if we exercise repeatedly, or the rope is going across the stone, does even the rope manage to leave an impression on the stone. So that is something which helped me believe that yes, I'm not the only one, and this is something a time tested, century old. People have gone through the same thing. So let us go ahead. Let us encourage our child to recite poems at home, which is now an old, outdated activity, but it helps your child memorize a lot of good poems, be it something about what is this life if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. I'll not go on further. But so many beautiful poems and rhymes in Hindi, in English and other languages. We need to teach our child that, especially also the local languages. The last but not the least is what we desire in our child is the degrees. But let us please remember, it is not the degrees which will decide our child's final stand in life, but the dreams he's dreaming, what he desires. And let us also remember that we do not have to drown our child in our dreams. Our child has to dream his own dreams and decide his destination, where he wants to go, what he desires. And of course, we do tell our children that you need to first deserve, then desire, but still let them desire what they want and let them go ahead and put in the efforts to achieve it. What we need to also encourage and do it is dance, not just for ourselves but for our children, to be able to let go of their negative feelings, vent it out, enjoy the beats of life and dance. And that is a part of not just gross motor development of a child, fine motor development of how a child can enjoy music. That is important. And we need to again with D, not always expect a child to be totally dedicated to family, because sometimes the dedication will be more to certain friends, the dedication might be to a certain teacher which is there, and children have a tendency to obey a teacher more than they do their parents, and that is fine. We need to communicate with the teachers as well. We need to define the duties a child has to do, because many times we feel that a child shouldn't be pampered and not given any duties. So a child needs to know the duties and the rights, they go hand in hand. They need to define a hero. whosoever, we need to help them define a hero for themselves. They can look up to, they can read up about that hero, because as the child grows up and defiance develops, if a child has defined who his or her hero is, a child will still not deviate too much from the path he wants to travel in. What we need to learn, and what the pandemic has taught us, is the dignity of work, which it is not always the person on the highest pedestal who is the most deserving. Here for the pandemic, our cleaners, the people who kept the community clean, they are the ones who need to be given a salute. Let our children dream of becoming a farmer and feeding a million mouths and not necessarily becoming a millionaire. Let them dream of becoming a nurse who is there by the bedside of those who are diseased and they're dying all the time. It's not always that a doctor is there. Not that a doctor doesn't deserve credit, but I believe any day a nurse deserves more credit. Let our children dream of becoming a train driver who can drive everyone safely through the night, and not always an Air Force pilot. Let our children dream of becoming a policeman who can guard the society and not necessarily a politician. Let our children dream of becoming a school teacher, who are actually the future designers. They design the child's future and not necessarily want to label themselves as wanting to be fashion designers. Of course, all professions are good, but let us learn to respect and give dignity to the work which is being done. So I believe with this shield, we can help inculcate in our children those strengths, and that will help stand a child in good stead, not just through tough times, but through all times. Thank you. This is Dr. Monisha, pediatrician for last 25 years, mother to 2 medicos, and daughter of a beautiful mom and a fabulous father, signing off. Have a good December and a good new year coming. Bye-bye. Take care.